For Canadians, and especially Indigenous Canadians, Pope Francis may be remembered most for this trip to Alberta in the summer of 2022. I humbly beg forgiveness for the evil committed by so many Christians against Indigenous peoples, he said, delivering an historic apology for the damage inflicted by church-run residential schools and the evils of colonialism. The emotional moment, long sought by residential school survivors, would be one of the progressive Pope's crowning achievements.
I think from the moment he stepped out on the balcony, we knew that the tectonic plates had shifted.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the Archbishop of Buenos Aires, the first Pope ever from the Americas and the first from outside Europe in nearly 1,300 years, carried immense expectations from many demanding change and a more modern institution.
I began to just be fascinated.
Tina Beattie is a theologian and a former professor of Catholic Studies in London.
He's lived as humbly as it's possible for a Pope to live, and he's put to shame some of the grandiose lifestyles of some of the men in the Vatican. So all in all, that first night was euphoric. Euphoria, of course, doesn't last.
Francis would win accolades for his tough talk condemning sexual abuse in the church. He held summits, met survivors, and made apologies. His messages to gay people also sounded remarkably conciliatory for an institution so resistant to change. He told reporters traveling with him on a flight, "If a person is gay and seeks God and has goodwill, who am I to judge?" Francis used his profile to try to make the world pay attention to the plight of migrants in the Mediterranean, the persecution of Rohingya Muslims, and to heal the deep wounds of civil war in African nations such as South Sudan. But victims of sexual abuse complained Francis's words weren't backed by actions, that abusers continued to be protected.
I think he failed to grasp the real savage problem of the abuse crisis.
As for women, Tina Beattie says Francis saw them in a maternal way, not as equals to men, with too few women appointed to powerful jobs in the church.
But when I hear and read what he says about women, I think, but you haven't listened. You haven't heard anything.
For the first time in history, Francis had to share the Vatican with his predecessor, Emeritus Pope Benedict, who resigned, but whose conservative views clashed with Francis's.
That contributed, of course, to the culture wars and to the sort of schisms that opened up in the church. So I think he made the best of what he must have seen was a very awkward situation.
Francis attempted to create a more inclusive Catholic Church and broaden its appeal, but he also triggered fierce internal debates. His achievements will now either be consolidated or overturned by his successor. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.